So ever since I watched the first 2 episodes of Mushoku Tensei earlier last week, I've been patiently awaiting for episode 3 to air, and it is finally here at long last, and I gotta say that in terms of everything I'm watching this season, like the stuff that, is relatively new, I'm really looking forward to this series as my favorite. Like, it's the one I'm looking forward to the most. I mean, yes, I'm loving ReZero, I'm loving Attack on Titan, etc., but I really am looking forward to this. Out of all the new stuff, this series is just so good, and I feel like before everything is said and done, I'm probably eventually going to gravitate towards also reading the light novels of this series just because of how much I'm actually enjoying it. This episode, episode 3, is another good example of just how to do an isekai right, and all the elements that make an isekai and why I love it. This is what this episode does once again. So let's go into it. Let's dive into the nitty-gritty. So as I talked about in my first impressions of the series, I said that our main character, Rudy, he might not necessarily be fully special. He's someone that obviously was reincarnated, and he does bring knowledge from another world. He does have more of a different perspective on things, but overall, he is someone that might not be gifted like a normal protagonist, like how you would normally have an OP protagonist. And on first glimpses of episode 1 and 2, he does look very OP. Like, he has to work for it. He has to do years of training, magical training, to be where he's at. But when you really look at him, it looks like he's someone that, is just not really that powerful. He's worked to be there. He's put a lot of time and effort to achieve what he has. And now with this episode 3 to be exact, we now know that everything he's achieved is actually thanks to hard work, and it wasn't given to him on a silver platter. I do like this, by the way. I really love this little detail that we were given within this episode, because he starts to talk to himself. He's like, I really do hope that people can't do incantations, like, incantation lists, like, magic, like me. He hopes he's special, but in reality, he comes to find out he's actually not special whatsoever. And this could definitely lead to him feeling like he's weaker than others, because someone might come around that does it better. But there is a big detail about this. It does mean now that this gives us insight to a couple of things of how he was able to achieve what he now is capable of now. For instance, using magic without incantations. Most likely, it stems from worldview. This is definitely something I've talked about in my previous video, for instance, my first impressions, that the reason why he most likely can do magic like he does is because when it came to the teachings of him, he's self-taught. He had no one teach him how to use magic. No one told him you need to do incantations. He just tried it on his own. He tried to do magic without incantation, and he was able to achieve it. And I feel like if you're someone that is set in rules and habits and all that, of using incantations, it's going to really mess with your growth and learning of magic. I feel like that's a big detail. It's kind of like in real life. If you're trying to learn certain techniques, build up habits, you build up something that is normal, something that makes sense or feels right to you. Like if you were to, let's say, play basketball, okay, and you're like dribbling a ball in a certain way and you're using your left hand to do everything, switching automatically over to the right hand, even if it's better, would definitely be probably harder if you just spent years upon years of using your left hand for everything. It's kind of something similar to that. It's not one by one the exact same, but it's kind of similar. It's to where when you build a habit of something, you have this worldview of how something should be done, and then you try to shift it to something else, it's going to be incredibly difficult to unlearn some of those bad habits you have formed. And I feel like that's kind of what's happened here, is that Rudy started with magic. He self-taught himself, which allowed him to be very open to different interpretations of how to use magic. And when it comes to the girl that he met with in this episode, the reason why she's actually able to use magic like she is, for instance, without using incantations, is most likely the sole reason is because she doesn't know anything about magic. She had no idea how it really was, and it was her first real interaction with magic in her lifetime, according to what we learned within this episode. So because of that, she saw Rudy using magic without incantation. She's like, oh, okay, so most likely this must be normal, something I could potentially do. And then he teaches her, and then she's actually able to do it. And on top of that, she is a kid as well. It's kind of like when you're a kid, you definitely grow and learn things, I think, very differently than you are an adult. Like, when you're around things and all that, you absorb so much knowledge and all that. And I feel like at a young age, you're able to just sponge everything up. And I feel like that's kind of what happens here, is you see that from from everything that's being displayed is that if you're at a young age within this world, you're able to boost your level of magic, grow it to great heights, but on top of that, you're able to do different forms of magic that normally adults would not be able to learn. I feel like someone like, Roxy that was trying to learn, incantationless magic would probably not be able to achieve what Rudy has within these past few episodes. She might be able to do it if she spends maybe years upon years of, trying to learn it, but I feel like she's going to have a much more difficult of a time being able to achieve what Rudy already has in the few years he's already been in this world. So that's just my POV on everything. I do like now knowing that Rudy isn't necessarily special, he just had a different perspective that really helped him actually grow. Now, in terms of actual mana pool and what he's capable of, his actual limit of mana, I do think that he probably has a overall higher advantage over normal people, because ever since he was like 2 or 3, he's been learning magic. So, he's been literally non-stop learning magic since that age. Every single day, it's been shown that he's been trying to learn magic. So, when we really take a moment to look at this, most individuals that are probably trying to learn magic, they probably start at the age of 8, 7, maybe 10. They don't really actually get a lot of time to really build up their mana supply, their actual overall maximum limit of mana they can have, but you can see that he's been doing it at a very young age. So, it's clear that there must be some reason to why the books state that, your maximum mana is already predetermined at an age. And I wonder if this is the reason, because normally they don't teach kids at a young age how to use magic, or if this is thrown in to actually make people not grow as powerful as maybe the people that actually wrote these books. There's something definitely behind the scenes going on for the laws of how magic is used within this world. It either has something to do with holding on to power, which I'm assuming that's definitely a major part of it, but also has something to do, maybe if a kid gets too much magic, they become very dangerous, or maybe they're a walking time bomb or something. Who really knows? So yeah, I think that this episode does a good job with just grounding Rudy on a really balanced scale. He's not actually OP, but he definitely can probably become a very powerful teacher. I can definitely see him becoming like a mentor, teacher type role in the future of the story. Like if he grows older and all that, we get to see him become an actual adult. I would definitely see him becoming maybe a mentor, someone that goes to a school and teaches kids how to actually, be a wizard or a mage or whatever without using incantations. That'd be incredibly cool. So, anyways, let's back up for a second, and let's actually, talk about what we got within this episode besides that. So, Rudy encounters a new character that has the green hair within this episode, and it was very clear by the early stages of this episode that something very awkward and bad was going to happen, because I think anyone watching this episode knew that that green hair girl was definitely a girl, not a boy. And now, obviously, there has been traps in the past. For instance, you have a female voice actor thrown onto a character, and it turns out to actually be a boy. This has definitely happened within other stories. So, it definitely wouldn't have been left field if it really indeed was a boy. But I was definitely under the impression it most likely really was a girl. And when that finally came front and center of the story, and he found out that it was actually a girl, I was like, you know what? Even though this is very awkward, it's like, this could definitely make many people probably drop the series, I actually do respect how organic it kind of was done, because he was such a young age, he truly believed that this person was actually a guy. I'm like, okay, it makes sense why a mistake like this would be made, but on top of that, because of how socially awkward he was in his other life, he didn't have proper, I guess, social skills. He didn't know how to interact with individuals, so he just thought it was a guy just being very embarrassed and shy. So I do think that in terms of everything, I know it could have definitely been done better, especially with some of the scenes towards the later half, but I think that it was done in a way that really didn't upset me personally, but I could definitely see many not being overall happy with the way some of the direction of the episode went. Now, speaking of being happy with the way the direction of the episode went, I really do appreciate the character development of the father figure, and this is definitely something that needs to be talked about. I kind of feel bad for him to a certain extent, because he does kind of talk about some of the issues he has with Rudy. For instance, Rudy acts like an adult, which he technically is an adult. He's someone that lived an entirely different life. He lived, a good 20 plus years. So he's someone that definitely knows kind of how it means to be an adult in his own way. Even if it wasn't a proper depiction of adult, he didn't live a full-on adult life, he definitely has more of a mature outlook on certain things. And obviously, Rudy's father in this new world, he's trying to teach someone that kind of already knows certain things, and it's definitely going to be very difficult. In some ways, Rudy is going to give life lessons to his father, and you can see that he learned a lot from his son, but he's like, I wish sometimes you would act more like a kid. You wouldn't act so much like an adult, and it could probably be very, I guess, draining on him to realize that his kid is definitely a lot more mature than actually he thought he was. And you can see why he acted so stern and so much like a wall towards Rudy when he actually, hit him, was because, look, you're always showing that you're a saint-level class mage, and then all of a sudden you do something that might be something of a kid. I still can't treat you like a kid because I need to treat you like an adult. And his overall mentality was completely messed up. He thought he needed to teach or look at Rudy, act towards him like he was an adult when he's still kind of a kid. And so the father was kind of messed up a little bit and didn't really know how to interact with Rudy. I think it's really cool. I do like that interaction, that little development of the father learning from his mistakes and also learning that he needs to be able to see from both sides instead of just one side. And we also get hints that the father potentially was like Rudy at a young age. He walked out the door and left his father behind, and he never saw him ever again. There's a lot of interesting little details with this episode, and I'm definitely looking forward to seeing where the series is going to go next, because I'm enjoying it. 3 episodes deep, easily one of my favorite series of this anime season. But I think I'm going to leave it at that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.